play it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I heard
so
nothing but bad things about it.
It's really
I
fun.
think-
It's a really good time waster.
I think
Okay.
we're streaming to the correct channel now.
Oh,
Maybe.
wait, an ad just came on. So
Hey, we're no Golden Company. That's Golden. Hey, we're live.
company. We are live now.
All right,
Hello,
go.
everyone, and finally, welcome to the latest episode of Second Sons.
Wait, I thought we were the Golden Company.
We're the Golden Company now. Yes, the Golden Company. As always, I'm Roy Rogers, and instead of doing introductions like I normally do to Aaron or Sid, but I'm gonna ask Buzz. Buzz, how are you today? What is going on with
Great.
your sling there, my friend, for our listeners / viewers?
So, I do. I like bikes, and so me and my friends for midsummer we went biking downhill. Ski slopes. And I broke my collarbone.
Oh, Jesus. Ugh. Oh. Ugh.
So I'm in a sling for like 3 weeks. At
Ugh,
least.
that's brutal. We should have sweet European healthcare.
Yes.
Are you on some pain meds as well, or is this just
No.
a sling? No. Oh, look at you.
So are you self-medicating?
No. I need to drive
Everyone
today,
else.
so.
Oh, good.
Okay. So Sid, how are you today? How is
I'm
summer?
good.
You're in-
Summer's great. I'm a week and a half into my summer break. As a teacher, it's the best time of the year. So, yeah, I'm loving it. I'm mostly just like watching my kids all day and being activity director, but that's actually fun. I did being able to spend a lot of time with them.
And Glazer, how are you?
I don't know. I'm here.
You're alive. That's always
Sober this week. Let's keep moving.
good. All right, we're gonna keep moving. Well, there's one thing I want to do our advertisement. One of the best things about summer here in the East Coast is that Flying Dog's Blood Orange Ale is now available, which makes me incredibly happy. It's my favorite thing about summer. So, but let's talk a little bit about the big news before we move on to Aaron has some actual topic that we're going to talk about. But we want to talk about the sort of the news that dropped between now or between our last episode and this episode, which largely has to do with the world schedule. So, on the FFG website is the world schedule for 2016, which there was a couple surprises, I guess you could say. One good one.
No, disappointments. There were a few disappointments.
There were a few disappointments and one surprise. Why don't we, since we wouldn't have any appointments if it wasn't for disappointment, let's start there. The first one, I guess, would be that the reason why I probably won't go to Worlds now is that the Joust is on Wednesdays, which is an interesting decision. I guess is the right way to put it.
Stop saying things nicely. This is Second Sons.
Right. It's
Yeah,
pretty
it's horrible.
It's pretty fucking horrible. Like I get it, but it definitely makes 2.0.
Wait. You get it?
I get
Yeah,
it.
excellent.
No.
Do you get it?
No,
I don't get it.
Explain.
I'm gonna get it because what it says is something kind of insulting to the Thrones community, which is that they value Netrunner, Armada, and X-Wing higher than they do us. Right?
Mm.
That's what that tells me. That's why I get it. I get it. They say what matters more to us is that X-Wing, Netrunner, and Armada have excellent slots, but Thrones can go fuck itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is
no.
what. So
Then
I mean,
then I get it too because they don't care about Thrones, as evidenced by their Nationals prize support, right?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
haven't
this is-
seen the
this is
price
just-
support for Nationals, actually. Is it different
It
for
was a
Netrunner
joke.
and...
It was some like plastic tokens and a new first player counter.
yeah.
Don't,
Wait.
don't forget the playmat. They took the
Oh,
regional
that's our
playmat
regional
and
play-
cropped it. The
I think-
Nationals playmat was
At least that's
cropped
nice
regionals
art, though.
playmat.
But that's the
Yeah.
melee playmat. No. The melee playmat is that the
Joust.
Joust playmat is
The other thing,
Iron
too.
Throne playmat from the last game night kit
The old kit.
for 1.0, which I have two of,
They
and
give
have
it-
so
I didn't even know that. That's fantastic. There's like, fuck it. No one even played 1.0. Let's just give that shit away again.
I swear they were probably getting on the plane to Origins and were just like, oh god. Well, we have these printers in back. Somebody blow up this image. Somebody just reprint that with some new text. and they whipped him out and got on a plane without a second thought. I mean,
But then after that insult, after that horrible joke, the next thing they did was they go, "Hey, we have a world championship. We're definitely going to step our game up by having your shit on Wednesday."
yeah, and their newest LCG and arguably their biggest launch of an LCG,
Not
and they're
Not,
just
not
they're
arguably
shooting it.
stated by
Yeah, thank you.
the
It was.
FFG product director. It is their largest product launch. Well,
And
for
then
LCG.
they shoot it in the foot for both nationals and worlds. Like, what's your guys' confidence level that Gen Con is going to be a great experience after seeing these two things happen at Origins and now Worlds?
I have 100% confidence that Gen Con's going to be a great experience. I might not remember it because I'm going to drunken melee like a motherfucker. And what happens in 2.0 Joust happens in 2.0 Joust, man. Like,
Is there? Oh, go ahead.
like you can just get 2.0 at any given time, right? Like,
Right.
Like, is the person who wins 2.0 Joust, like, the person who won 1.0 Joust wasn't always the best player, but like,
Always.
I had a lot more confidence in it than I do in 2.0.
I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, Buzz, does a Wednesday joust, as someone who would travel to Worlds from another country, does the fact of the joust on Wednesday really impact you at all? Does it impact Europeans?
No,
and
probably
people that
not. Actually, but I mean, if it were in Europe, it would have massive impacts. Massive. Especially
But
since the Thrones community is also older than the general population of the other games, and is more likely to be work than a student or something else.
Like,
Absolutely.
I went to Worlds 2 years in a row. I'd like to have kept going, but I decided to get married and have babies instead. If I were single and still able to just like fuck off and go to Worlds whenever I wanted, I wouldn't be able to take off Tuesday to get to Worlds, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to go to Worlds. That's fucking crazy.
Right.
Like,
It's
in
a
the
lot
middle
of
of the
vacation days.
in the middle of the school year, teachers don't get vacation days. I get call in sick a bunch and hope no one fucking watches the stream.
Like, it's way worse. As a teacher, calling in sick is like your nightmare because you
Yeah.
know everything's gonna go wrong.
Yep.
You
And
know you're gonna return and it's gonna be awful.
And they're gonna be calling you in the morning like, "We lost your plans and the kids lit the room on fire." Yeah, it's not fun.
And it's even see I'm a teacher as well, and getting, I mean, anyone, and it's not just teachers, I mean, anyone who works a work week, like the song, anyone who's working for the weekend is completely discouraged by this, because even if you only want to play Thrones, I mean, you're flying out to Minnesota or driving a long ways
Just saying Minnesota
for
makes me
Wednesday,
sad.
maybe Thursday. If somehow you make the cut, you're probably not leaving till Friday because the cut starts at 4:30 p.m. day 2. So you can't even get out of there if you make the cut. You got to sit around all day waiting for the cut, which is weird. And then you got to travel on Friday. So no matter what, you're just screwed. You're giving up a whole week. And then you just get home on like Friday night while Worlds is going on. It's depressing.
Well, because
I
there
hate
really
it.
is nothing else to do at Worlds.
Nothing.
Like Gen Con. Like, if Gen Con was Wednesday, at least it's over the summer, so you have like the summer vacation.
Well,
days.
they don't do those kind of events on Wednesday.
Right.
at
But,
Gen Con,
but
so-
you know what I mean. But like, if it were on a Wednesday, just because it would be less painful, and it's Gen Con, you have shit to do that's not Thrones. At their Worlds, it's like, well, I can play Armada, which I've never seen before. Like, what the fuck else are you gonna do for those 2 days? You go drink heavily like everyone else in Minnesota.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Worlds does have one of the things Gen Con has going for, it, which is an awesome community of people that will be there. Well, less now because of Wednesday, but it doesn't have that other thing. Like, you're gonna like fucking hang out in Minneapolis. Like, I'm sorry, Minneapolis.
Matt,
But
we
see,
will.
Minneapolis, no one goes to Minneapolis.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
It's one bar in Roseville.
it really is, and
that's
it's
the
the
hangout scene.
shitty, and it's the shittiest bar.
It's not the shittiest part. That is not true.
Have you
we go to a Gen Con is way worse. Yeah.
No, the bar we go to at Gen Con is way better because it's just a bunch of hillbillies. The bar we go to at Worlds is terrible because there's always a million idiots watching college football where you just want to drink and be geeks. There's like no room to sit or breathe. It's terrible.
There wasn't the space wasn't a problem.
Last year was different. Last year it was a ghost town. It was pretty much just us. But
2
maybe that was just, I think, as football was having a weird weekend or something.
2 years
Yeah, I
ago,
think
we
we just
couldn't
got
get
lucky.
into the fucking bar.
Yeah, that was not a problem at all this past year.
It was only Thrones people. It was only half filled or something.
Yeah, Buzz.
They were happy to see us. They were very happy and very considerate of. They were we got treated really well this year. So
Hey, what bar do we go to at Gen Con? Do you know the name of it? Roy?
Casablanca.
Casablanca with the stupidest spelling in the world.
It is a pretty shitty bar.
Something
the wait
like
staff
that.
is great. The management doesn't want money. That's
Yeah.
that's what we found last year.
But whatever, we drink and play games there, and then we sing karaoke, and we bribe them into doing whatever we want. Bribe slash bully slash cajole slash whatever.
Yeah, but this is not the only Worlds news that's bound to disappoint people, which is that Melee has been. I know Aaron doesn't care, but I know the rest of us do, which is that Melee has become a side event. It is no longer its own world championship with a card design. It is now a side event, just like we'll get to this in a second. Draft, or Call of Cthulhu. I don't know.
Wait, so Ryan said this to me the other day. Like, at Worlds, Draft was a side event, right? Last year?
Nope.
It wasn't?
Draft was a main
technically-
event.
Ryan, who won
was
it, told me it was a side event.
It was a side event, but it was titled World Championship, and it was
So, but-
clear that you got a card
And we can
design
ask
and
Ryan
a
if he's
World
in the
Champion.
chat.
Yeah, but we don't know if that's true. Like, this could be a side event. That could be the World Melee Champion. You know what I mean?
Then they would have called it that, but they
But-
didn't.
Did they for Draft right away? I thought it was a
Yes,
side
they
event.
did.
and
Draft
like,
and Melee last year in the actual program were World Championship tournaments.
But we don't have the program yet, do we?
Yes.
We have the
Oh, we
program.
do? Oh,
I've
think
linked
we're-
it in
why
the
are
chat.
what do you think
even.
we're
I thought they
about?
just made an announcement, not the whole program. My bad.
No,
No,
they-
they listed the
full
entire
program.
schedule, and yeah, we know all the details. and
Ryan
it
insists
goes
they
low.
could definitely give a card
Well-
for Melee.
They could
But-
they could give a card design if they wanted to for Melee, but they're
they-
definitely not hyping it that way.
Yeah. Look, I
But
actually.
they're also not saying that it's a competitive like saying it's a side event is saying that Melee is not at all equal to Joust. It's not even in the same realm as
Well,
Joust, which
it's-
is a big change from 1.0.
It's
Like
not.
whether we can all LOL Melee, but
No,
like,
wait. Like, it's not in the same realm as Joust. No one ever thought it was in the same realm as Joust. That's not fair. But
No,
that-
of course, no.
that-
No,
that-
now you're wrong. There's a lot of
Okay,
people
fine.
that
A bunch
is in the
of
same world.
Europeans. No one in
Yes.
like the civilized world thinks that. Like people that don't just have people annexing out of them don't believe that.
you butchered that, Glazer.
Yeah,
But see,
fine. I'm
the
trying
game
to.
is more interesting when Melee does matter, when there's a World Championship, because even though I'm not a huge fan of it, I like watching the top tables. I like watching them all just be tortured by each other's own shenanigans. But it's exciting. Like the world's Melee tables have been exciting in the past, and they're like big drama moments. And I mean,
Where
FFG
where
has
would
just
Thrones be
screwed it.
without Melee? Like all
Yeah,
of the great
way less fun.
stories come from Melee, right? All the people getting disqualified at Gen Con a few years ago.
All the controversies is what
All
you're
the
saying.
controversies come out of Melee, but
Yeah.
that creates like stories, like the stories that I was told when I first started, like driving along cars with Dave Stroms and Dan, and they would tell me about the community and things that happened. Or on like final Melee tables, right? With like Steve Simone telling Aaron Glazer exactly what to do to put Steve in first place
No,
and
that
Aaron
was-
in second. Or was it the other way around?
me in first and Simone in second.
That's
And that was not. I didn't
Alright.
make the cut. I'm not good at Melee. I was just like, all right, I'll do whatever you say. Who cares?
Right.
Neither here nor there. No, I don't like that they did this because it's another signal without any communication with the community that they don't give a shit. It's like if they wanted to get rid of Melee, that's fine, but it probably shouldn't be something they just casually drop on us.
Yeah. In the rules book, not the rules book, the starting guide or whatever, they hype Melee. When FFG talk, when I talk to Nate or any of the other guys at Worlds, they talked about Melee as something great, something they enjoy. And after the drama last year, I was invited to think on some of the Melee stuff. Can't say more. And I thought they would do anything this year. They haven't. They
did
haven't
something.
announced.
They canceled it.
Yes.
I
Well,
mean, we just had Will complete a series of Melee-focused articles on the FFG website, and then they just completely screw over Melee players by saying, hey, look at all these great articles that a big member of the community is writing and discussing and dissecting. Oh, and by the way, Melee doesn't matter anymore. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
That is essentially what they did. Yes.
yeah, the
and I don't
picture
think this is
that
a
you say is
design
it's
thing.
huge.
Like I don't think it's a design thing. Like if you look at the reboot, like I think Melee was pretty well rebooted in 2.0. Like I think the new title system and the new you don't like 2.0 Melee? No. Okay. All right. All right. I
Not
think you don't
not
like
yet.
the random.
It could
What
grow
don't
to
you like,
something
Buzz?
beautiful eventually, but it doesn't have the card support. It doesn't have a single interesting card support. I think
Wait,
maybe some, but I don't know.
right. I'm not.
What's happening?
Are
I
we
don't know.
losing audio? I think we lost Roy.
Yeah, I think we lost Roy.
Agree
Oh.
with you there, but I'm talking about like
You-
on the
Roy-
fundamental rules
Roy.
document. Like I like the changes that they
Roy.
made to like the.
You
We
you'll
lost
have
you,
to
Roy, for
restart.
the last 30
Am I still
seconds.
here?
Yeah, you just came
Am I
back.
back?
Yeah.
Start again when
I
you
back?
started talking. You are back.
Okay.
So Trey asked.
Oh, I was gonna say Buzz.
Oh.
I
Go ahead.
agree with Buzz about cards, but I think on a fundamental rules level, like I like the new title selection and the new titles. Like I like that aspect of it. I agree with you about cards, but I think that they cleaned up some of the rules
Okay.
with Melee from first
There
edition.
there is the cannot defend for your buddy. That thing is huge. It
that's
it
the
removes a whole layer of tactics and discussions, and I mean there was massive diplomacy in the selection of titles. Now that if there were bad players that could create a stale game, people didn't really understand. Can I attack this guy? Can I not? So I understand they changed it for the casual audience, but they should have made something to make up for it. But they just removed a whole layer of the game, which I don't know. They need to print cards to make up for that.
That's very reasonable. Okay, so we did Melee. Anything else about Melee, Sid?
Melee sucks. Make it better by
Well,
supporting it. Like I would have played in the Melee. I actually would have played in the World Championship Melee and probably would have had fun. But I mean, I don't want to stick around for some Melee side event on what's that? Is that on Friday?
yes,
Friday, yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget it. If I go, which I am still actually planning on going, I'm looking at flying out on
That's
Friday
impressive.
and just preserving my weekend.
Wow.
I know
That's
it
just
sucks,
funny.
but I did find a flight for $150 round trip. So cheers.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I guess the advantage of like flying in on Tuesday night and flying out on Friday or even Thursday night, if you want to be like,
Fuck.
super conservative, is like you're gonna save a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
An issue, and another thing which we didn't mention, but I just want to mention quickly is there are at least 2 communities in Europe that absolutely love Melee, that has it on their game nights. Well, 3 actually. It's the French, of course, the Finns, they love Melee, and the Poles. And I've heard they are all very, very disappointed. Just wanted to put that in.
Should we have seen it coming though? Because nothing about Melee are in the tournament rules.
Maybe, yeah.
Like those are ever thorough.
But I mean, I've been messaging and emailing and never gotten an answer. Like, can you please do this? Can you please do that about Melee? And no answers. So I don't know.
Well,
They have not even a nope.
I think not even a nope is the best way to just move on, because
then
that's what they
the
that's
third
what
and
they did to Melee. Not even a nope.
So the third and final thing about the world's announcements is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is it's official or semi-official. There's going to be a draft, official supported 2.0 draft for second edition of Thrones, which is great. I'm really excited. I really enjoyed 1.0 draft. But the bad news is it doesn't get, and I think we still in chat have our reigning draft world champion, Ryan Jones. He will not be able to defend his title because it's not even like Melee, which is that at least it's one day. So theoretically, we could all say whoever wins that is the world champion of Melee, right? If we wanted to, you could be like, that person's the world champion. But it's 2 pods. They're running it twice. So it truly is 100% just a side event.
Yeah.
Like it's just a side event. It's not a world championship.
For
at all.
funsies.
Do they even have the card pool to support this?
Yes,
I mean, we'll
yeah,
see.
of course.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think
Think
you
so?
can make a great drafting in
Yeah,
second
because
edition.
if 1.0 is any precedent, then they can draw from future sets as well.
Yeah.
And they can make it work. Yeah. Because
I
draft
mean, you
just
could
kind
do
of keeps
magic
adding.
drafting that's just this number of cards, like with a block
Yeah.
which is about this number of cards that's successful. It
I
just
think
depends
you
on their
can.
rarities and how balanced the pool is and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Given how well balanced the game is right now, I'm gonna go ahead and not hold my breath that they understood how to balance draft.
Yeah.
Just saying, like,
No Tyler.
you realize
No
this is
Tyrion.
Tyrion, Mirian, Gregor, and the Hound were all printed within like 3 months, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
This doesn't. I'm not very confident.
One thing, it could be. Hopefully, we get an answer from them soon, I guess. But next year, we will have a Worlds that is only Netrunner, Conquest, and Thrones. And then
And
all the
L5R.
Star Wars shit is
L5R.
somewhere else.
L5R.
4 LCGs.
No, it's in the future, I think.
No,
That comes out at Gen Con next year.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So they'll do it just like they did 2.0 last year. Probably have, I don't know.
Oh, you mean
Aside-
that the Europe never actually gets it?
Yeah.
In all likelihood, how long have we been waiting for our second cycle right now? 2 months.
Yeah.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
like-
The last pack came at the end of May or end of April, right? Right around
Yeah.
my birthday.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So we've been waiting 2 months, and there's no end in sight at this point. There's no announcement of like when in July or even if July. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I have a theory. about that.
is
That
it that
others share.
FFG is really bad at things?
It's that, and this is maybe giving way too much credit to FFG, but I don't think they want Valor available at Worlds. I think they wanted to hit.
I think you're giving
afterwards.
way too much credit to like design and
Yeah.
organized play, having any control over release.
Yeah, that's
Like-
100. That just
like-
doesn't make any sense from everything we know about FFG.
Yeah, like the impression I would get is that I mean we had this happen. Like Michael Hurley said to Will and Greg and I that he wants packs coming out every month or a box. He wants a LCG product for Thrones coming out every month. That's his personal goal, but he doesn't have control over that apparently. So it's just the whims of the ocean. So what you really need to do is take it up with Poseidon
I don't, here's my argument.
or the
though.
Chinese Communist
that-
government.
2.0 comes out and it's this non-Valor world and everyone kind of adjusts to it and is getting into it, and I just don't think you release Valor at the end of that kind of pre-Valor world, right? I mean, we've got Store Championship starting like a month after Worlds, right, in December. So I think they wanted Valor to hit at the very beginning of Store Championship season for kind of like season 2 of the Thrones tournament season, and then you've got kind of Valor going forward. I don't think they want to shake up Worlds.
So wait.
But then again, then they put Worlds on a Wednesday, which makes me think they don't care at all.
So wait, yeah, exactly. So wait, if July is pack 1, August is pack 2, September is pack 3,
October would be pack 4.
so then it would be legal for Worlds.
Yeah.
11
So-
days. 11 days.
No, it's like October 23rd or something would be the Wednesday, which is fine. Someone ran me through that math earlier because I don't care about Worlds for obvious reasons. So no, it would still be out for Worlds unless they don't have pack 1 out for Gen Con, in which
bet
case
you-
I'm gonna be really sad I'm going to Gen Con.
Oh, you mean legal for Gen Con? Because I'm almost certain we'll be able to buy it
Yeah, no,
at Gen Con.
Roy, I mean legal.
Oh, legal. Yeah.
You
I mean,
watch.
if-
I'll bet you that first pack comes out in such a way that it makes it impossible for Valor to be legal for Worlds.
Then it would have to be an
Yeah,
I
but
will
that's
take that-
that's
I will
because
take that bet.
FFG is stupid, not.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would
they
also-
can't organize release dates. They can't. They don't know how to.
They don't seem to know how to.
Well, they seem to not. I mean, the impression.
Asmodee for this.
This is the impression that I get from FFG from all this actions is they're not big enough to be able to force their whatever system gets their product from China to the United States to hurry up, except for in a few small cases like Gen Con where they're willing to shell out cash to have product there.
But they
Otherwise,
are
they're
a
just at the
major
whims-
company that can plan far enough ahead so they don't have to strong arm some Chinese shipping company.
Lucas, what
But are
evidence
they a major company?
No,
That's
wait,
the
Lucas,
question.
what evidence have you
Asmodee
ever
is.
seen of that? What evidence have you ever seen that that's the case with them?
Well, not that FFG can, but that companies can. That planning and careful
Wait,
testing schedules and release schedules are
FFG
possible.
FFG just released a world schedule where they canceled a major event with no warning, and on top of that, made their biggest event for their either biggest or second biggest LCD on a fucking Wednesday in the middle of November in Minnesota.
It's baffling. I'm baffled. I agree.
So just assume that, like, don't never attribute to malice that which can adequately be attributed to ignorance. Is that it?
Or stupidity.
Yeah. Stupidity.
Stupidity.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Something like that.
Sure, but that's Hanlon's razor, I believe, right? Am I getting that one right? Someone will know.
I don't know.
Whatever. Someone will comment. Well, actually, so.
But it's good news that we're getting draft. Like, I do want to have some from this segment. I do want
Yes.
at least some good news. Like, I am excited for draft. I hope it's available at Gen Con. Like, excuse me.
I'm not excited for Draft at Worlds because it's not a World Championship. But I am excited that we'll have product, especially in the big tournaments in California that we run. Draft has always, in the past, in 1.0 and especially in the CCG era, we've always had draft events to go along with our main event. So the fact that that's going to be able to come back without too much of a gap here between 1.0 and 2.0, I'm really excited about that. So I am psyched for draft, but not for Draft at Worlds.
So I will bet, I don't know, anyone who really wants $5 that Greg Atkinson's draft module is better than whatever FFG puts out.
I'm not gonna bet against it. No, no way.
Yeah. Like, almost certainly.
Here's the thing. It'll be easier to run an FFG draft than it will be to run Greg's draft.
Yeah, but it just won't be more fulfilling.
Will it be
better?
As well thought out? Maybe not. But it will be easier, so people will do it more often than do it in Greg's style.
So I'm going to use this to prove the Valor point. Why this Valor thing isn't a plan. We can't assume that one dude sitting around for an afternoon making up a bunch of draft rules isn't going to be more well thought out than FFG supposedly, like one would assume, play tested and greatly planned by a group draft. What makes you think they can plan releases?
I mean, my experience in the 2 years that I've been involved in LCGs has been that they can't. I mean, they basically killed the Star Wars LCG with their inability to release product, and I think I think Conquest is suffering from some of the same problems.
It had a big gap as well, yeah.
And I mean, does everyone not remember the great content gap of 2015? Between the disasters of getting the core sets to Europe, the disasters of getting the core sets in the United States, the huge gap between the first cycle and the core, when the hell the core was going to come out. I mean, it was very easy for those of us who were at Gen Con, Aaron and myself and other people, but I wasn't someone who had 3 core sets coming out of Gen Con. I only bought one because I was like, oh, it'll be out in a month or 2. I don't need to shell out money now. I can spend it on alcohol and booze, booze and food here. But that proved to be a mistake. Well, in hindsight, not at the time. And it took what? It was almost right before Worlds, I think, that I bought my core set. I could go on Instagram. I was so excited. I took pictures holding my 2 core sets that I bought. And when did you guys get your core sets? Like right before Worlds? Or did you buy them in the US?
Immediately after Gen Con because John Bruno lost a sizable bet to me. So he had to he had to provide me with a Gen Con core set. So I was psyched up. But it was just one. What am I going to do with one core set and no one to play with, right?
This is something that I learned quite as well. Buzz, when did you get your core sets? Like in the United States? Or
No.
did you have them?
The Dutch?
I think I bought them maybe a week before, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
But I didn't open them until after
3 months? 4 months?
next year, so
3 months.
this
3
year.
months after.
3.5.
After. Yeah. So, I mean, then we had that huge gap where we had to allow it. Like, it was a huge controversy in our Red Saturday tournament here in New York that we actually allowed proxies for the first time ever in a New York tournament because we wanted to be able to use the first chapter pack, and not everybody could get a copy of the first chapter pack for our.
That's the only tournament
Red
Will's
Saturday
won in the last 5 years when he had one everyone else.
It was the only tournament you've won in.
Will.
I'm talking.
No, everyone had the pack when I won. When Will won, yes. When Will won, no one had that chapter pack.
You won Red Saturday this year. The chapter pack was not like at the store. We had to allow people to have proxies.
Yeah, but people. Okay, so people had the cards. Everyone had their proxies.
Yeah.
I played against people that had their proxies.
Yeah. So, um,
Yeah, I know. You bought my pack.
I did. I bought like all the packs I could afford. I had like 7 of them when I was coming back.
The mark of a truly well run company. I need to buy all of these because they'll disappear forever.
I was like, I am not getting tricked. You will not trick me again. Now I always go, and as soon as I hear, go get my chapter pack right away. But all right, is that it? Is there anything else that people want to say about Worlds before we move on to sort of one other topic before we get to Aaron's topic that he reminded me that not him, that Sid reminded me of Valor, which we'll get to. Yes. No other Worlds comments, gentlemen.
Just that I was really excited this year, and I'll probably still go, but my excitement is pretty low. There's a lot of people I love to see going to Worlds that I've seen through the grapevine are not going, and it's pretty disappointing. And if like a few more people I really like to see at Worlds kind of bow out, I might have to adjust my own reason for going. Though I did find a cheap ticket, so it makes it not that difficult. And I don't care about my students that much. I'll just go.
We have actually announced dates for our Nordics,
Oh,
which
is
is
this FFG prize
yes,
support or is this?
yes.
Okay.
But the flight is all the community. We're making sure that we have a flight for Thrones this year out of the tickets. So there will be a Nordic person, probably a Finn or Swede, I guess. That will make you company, Lucas. There are exactly 3 Norwegians. One who lives in Scotland, who's actually been Evan Sor.
Yeah, he's been on a tear, right?
Yeah, he's wrecking everywhere he goes. In all of the games, because he plays all of the LCGs and other games. But yeah, I think there are 3 players from Norway, a few players from Denmark. Star Wars is really big there, the X-wing and stuff. Otherwise, there are really good players in Finland and Sweden.
So if you win, will you be coming, Buzz?
Yes, of course.
Oh, well, see, then I got
Buzz stays up till 4 in the morning to do this podcast.
I don't want to be the only
I mean,
second Suns guy there.
I mean, to be completely honest, I may just buy my Worlds ticket and then like see who of the Europeans, like wins British Nationals and wins the Nordic Nationals.
I don't think British Nationals gets a ticket.
You only have to
they might
August
now
something to get that refund, though.
Well, they sent Dave last year, so I can't imagine that they.
No, they didn't.
That was all of the community,
the community sent Dave.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think they might fly out. They almost flied out last year. The provider or whatever it's called, this distributor, but they reverted what they had said about it. But since it's, I think it's pretty big in the UK, so they should fly out based on sales.
Yeah, we'll see if they give a shit. They're not,
Yeah.
England's not reliable.
Well, no politics. So moving on.
So speaking of England, Valor Morgulis.
Yes. So I gave my opinion on the last episode of the White Book, so I will largely be quiet during this segment. But this is an opportunity for the 3 other Second Sons to offer their opinions on the fact that Valor has been spoiled as a 2 gold, 0 initiative, 0 claim, 5 reserve, kill all characters in play when revealed plot. So Sid, why don't you kick this off? And tell us because I think of all of us, probably this is as you've said, this is your only social media opportunity when it comes to Thrones. So now is your moment.
Except for the SoCal group, which is closed to all of you commoners.
I'm in it. I'm in it. Pretty sure.
Did someone let you into SoCal?
Yeah.
I don't think SoCal. I think you snuck into the Bay Area one, but not SoCal.
Oh, okay. I'll make
if you're
that
in SoCal, I'll take care of that. That's an oversight.
I want in.
Oh Oh no. Sorry guys.
I
Oh,
don't
man.
need more. I don't need more Facebook notifications from Thrones.
I love you, but some spaces have to be sacred and safe. So yeah, Valor. I was a little disappointed in the stats for sure. I would have liked to see like a 3006 just to make it a little bit more playable. I think it still is playable, but it won't be ubiquitous. I think you're going to see it in factions that can really leverage a reset like that. Tyrell comes to mind, Lannister comes to mind, Greyjoy comes to mind. Then anybody who wants to, banner to Greyjoy. Um, I did mess around. Like we've been kind of messing around with some Valor proxy decks in our little Octagon group in California, and I made like a Bara Maesters deck, as if such a thing could exist, but it does sort of. That uses Bara and Greyjoy and the Maester saves and kind of uses Valor really effectively, and also kneels out the board. So I think there might be something there in the future, but it's pretty niche. I don't see it being in every deck, and if it is, a lot of people are gonna lose because they put it in their deck.
Buzz.
I think you just got traded out of SoCal, by the way.
Oh really? What happened? Oh
Buzz?
please, they love me.
Buzz, what?
Depends if your Gold Coast meta.
What do you think
now.
about Valor?
About Valor? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will win a lot of games against players who put it in the deck when they shouldn't.
Yep.
That's a big thing. People who are like, oh my god, we can't play the game anymore. It will be in every deck. Okay, 3 wins for me, no problem. Yeah, people, they will take a long while, even for 1.0 players, to adjust and remember how to play with and around Valor.
I never stop proxying that motherfucker. Like every couple of weeks, I'm like, let's proxy Valor in games because I miss it. Good.
Yeah.
So
I
what
think
percentage of decks
I
do you
would
think
have
will
liked
use it?
what I'd like to have it 3 gold. By the way, I don't like the stat line on this one. I think it's too weak.
So
But in what decks? How many? Yeah, maybe 30%, 40% should run it. Maybe in a while we'll see it in 50-60%, but 20%. I mean 30%. This is a good deck. Valor belongs here. Then another 20%, so a total 50% will run it, and that extra will be just bad decks, bad plot decisions, something like that.
I feel like we're gonna see it in like 70-75% of decks, but it's only gonna belong in like 40.
Hmm.
And I feel like people will play it less as it goes up in value. Like
I think
people start.
people will slot it in right away, right? They'll just
Yeah.
want to play with it, and I agree with that. But I think pretty quickly people will realize, wow, like I'm getting kind of hosed by this card.
The meta doesn't adjust, man. Like, have you not noticed that about the Thrones meta? It adjusts really poorly to things.
I mean, it does. I can't speak to the world meta, but it does in California pretty fast. We've got enough people
Yeah.
who are like hard at work in the lab that it switches pretty quickly.
You feel like the global meta just finds a good deck or finds something that works and goes, "Whoop, let's all do this for the next 6 months until
Yeah.
someone else makes something else."
I think
Because-
a big issue with that is people like me who don't specifically enjoy building decks or aren't really good at it. They just want to play and they want to play something good. That's me, and there is a lot of us, especially the new players. They don't build great decks. They can find them online. Bam, let's play.
That's why Buzz comes to California for all of his decks. As we know this.
No, I don't.
Not true.
for one of them,
60%.
60% of the decks. Yeah, sure.
I think it all depends on like if the 3 factions that Sid laid out that really like Valor, how dominant they become in a Valor meta, right? If Greyjoy, Tyrell, and Lannister become very, very, very strong with Valor, which one of the things that we need to remember is that as all of us prognosticators, some of us who are more accurate than others, I don't consider myself one of the more accurate people, we're often been wrong about a lot of cards. This is the first, like, pretty close to the 1.0 version of a card that we're getting back, except for the reserve. I think the reserve is the biggest, to me, the reserve is the biggest difference between first and second edition.
It's the
5
gold.
cards?
No, it's the gold. Like,
It's the
it's because, like, if it was 4 gold with 5 reserve, I don't think I'd give a shit. Like, I'd just be, I'd be able
I don't
to
think
get
they
enough
printed
out
it
of the
for
board.
gold though. Like, I
Right.
just-
Well, if it's 5 reserve, it has to be like 4 gold. A 3 reserve with 5 gold is really bad. Like,
Yeah,
a 2 gold
that's-
with 5 reserve is a joke bad, right? But, like, even a 3 gold with 5 reserve, you're going to be hurting yourself far more than you're helping yourself most times with that.
Yeah, but see, in the right deck, which I think there are multiple decks, it's
Yeah.
still an insanely powerful card.
Of course.
Like it's gonna be great in certain decks, and that's really I think all we could hope for. I don't necessarily want to sit across from an opponent and say, okay, they're playing Valor. Let's see about when they're gonna play Valor. Make sure I come out of the Valor better than them. I don't want that to be a consideration every game.
I mean, that was 1.0, right?
It was. It absolutely was. And I'd like to see it in a lot of decks, and to see it be a good plot, unlike the what's the Targ one that we were all kind of
Blood of the
hyped on.
Dragon.
Threat.
There you go.
Threat from the north.
Terrible plot. Yeah, Threat from the North 2.0, which just stinks because no one plays it, so you don't even think about it. Like when you play against Targ, you don't even think they've got that plot. If they have it, you laugh. You're like, ha ha ha, I will crush you now anyway. But at least with Valor, it's good in some decks.
Yeah, we know it's good in a couple decks. I think we might be overestimating how good once people just start running simple counters.
Like more bodyguards and
Or like more of Greyjoy Banner, like the 4/2/2 plot, like even Wraiths. If you can time Wraiths well, like a 3 reserve is real low.
does Valor make the Eerie any better? Does it get a little bump? Little bump?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
it's just a huge tempo hit, but yeah, if you could figure out how to make it work. Like if they released another trading with the Pentoshi, I'd totally run the area, or if that were in limit 1 per plot deck.
I was thinking out
fucking
of Tyrell,
broken
since
so
they've already got the gold. They can kind of
Yeah.
afford to throw an Eerie, and then when you've got gold and the Eerie and Valor, things kind of get
So-
interesting for them.
The real problem is like you're gonna super telegraph your Valor at that point, but more than that, like, and you're gonna get just creamed as far as power and cards in your hand and everything else because they're gonna win a bunch of intrigue against you, right? Like
Not if
playing
you wipe their board.
well, yeah, yes, but playing 8 gold worth of location without characters is going to be a giant tempo hit almost no matter how you do it.
Well, not on the same turn.
Well, I think the problem that the Eerie in second edition has compared to the first edition one is that it does. I think the biggest problem is that with Aaron, it telegraphs your Valor, or you have to predict your opponent's Valor, which is sometimes easier than telegraphing. Unlike what it was in first edition, right, where it was just an on-demand save. And I think if it had just been a 4 gold on-demand save for, say, a high-cost character, I think would have been a much better card than what we got printed. I still think that the Eerie is kind of shitty, even in a Valor environment.
I mean, it doesn't suddenly protect against Tears of Lys, right?
Yeah, I agree. Another fun ruling. that we
And
get.
Tears of Lys just gets better with Valor, right? Because like that on-demand kill, like that immediate kill, is significantly less important.
Well, the intrigue challenge gets better with Valor, right?
Right.
So that means that any removal based on the intrigue challenge gets better.
Exactly.
So
Being able to empty a hand and then Valor becomes a legitimate play now,
Wraiths,
which is exciting.
I'm telling you, Wraiths is going to be a solid like Valor counter.
makes Martell a lot happier. Like Martell is also, I think, a faction that likes Valor.
Yeah.
The old
I'm not sure-
Doran's
still
game
not-
or whatever it's called.
In Doran's name.
Doran's
Doran's
name.
name
Martell
on, like,
doesn't
a-
have to rely on Varus quite as much if they have a Valor kind of
Oh.
on demand.
They also have a lot of chud that's good to get, like Valoring away your like bastard daughter can be pretty brutal on your opponent. And they have a lot of
And-
good cheap characters.
And a lot of attachments that they get right back, so it's
Yeah.
it's not so bad. It could work.
Yeah, like getting 2 condemned back and then putting it back on putting the condemned on the 2 best characters that your opponent does to slow them down on that Valor turn, and the next turn you can go back stronger is legitimate plays, right? So I mean, I am very bullish on Valor. Like I think it's
Look, I
I think it's really going to shake the meta up. Like I'm
Oh.
very excited for it. I wish it was in chapter pack fucking 1, but it's not. So we'll see. But I'd rather be excited and be wrong than not be excited. Like I think it's probably the most fundamental change to the metagame that we've had since first Snow, which at that point would be about 6 months apart from each other, which is good. Like it's we need it. We need Valor just at the very least because it will shake the metagame up.
Yeah, I fully plan to just build decks that are good with Valor forever because they'll play more like 1.0. And I don't love the experience of playing 2.0, but I love the experience of playing 1.0. So I'm gonna try to do that.
And I think you'll have options there. I mean,
Yeah,
the options are only going to get bigger.
I'll build with Johnny Wright. It'll be great.
California outsourcing.
All right. Any other Valor thoughts before we move on to Aaron's topic of du jour?
We have a question from Wolfgang, who is apparently a new player. But we
I just
we
asked
need
him.
we need a
I need
specification.
context.
Yeah.
I need context. So I just asked in what way. Let's see if he gives us that context.
Does anyone else think that this game can have a very brutal negative play experience for new novice players? Yes, absolutely.
Wait,
100%.
let's figure out how he means before we just start saying yes. But in the meantime, also important, let's cut that topic for next time because, like, I don't know. Let's not do a 2.5-hour episode for once.
I think that's an interesting topic for next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so.
maybe we'll actually have.
We will be doing more episodes in July, which we need to coordinate with Buzz because the White Book is on hiatus a little bit in July. So I'm sure Aaron and I will want to share our opinions. Okay, so we'll just take listener questions. There's some in the Facebook. Just give me a second.
All right, so does anyone else think the game can be a very brutal negative play experience for newer novice players? I think the game can be a very negative and brutal play experience for any player. I think it's particularly bad for new players, but I mean, we have a term for it. It's called getting 2.0, right? Like, we all know exactly what that means. We can all think of situations where that's happened. And that's going to happen more often when you're new and don't have the experience to sort of, like, work around it.
Yeah. No one likes to get 2.0'd. And I don't even like to 2.0 people.
Yeah.
It feels dirty.
It's not fun. Like, it's not playing a game. You're playing a game against no one when they get 2.0'd.
It only feels good when you're in a decider match of whether or not you're going to make in the cut. And
if it's like the
0.0.
top end of a tournament in the cut, I love the 2.0 people.
I've 2.0'd people by, like, treacherying a King's Road, and then the game's just over, right? Like, but that's a skill play or a timing play, not a.
That's not quite getting 2.0'd.
No,
or it can be a 2.0 situation.
Right.
Okay,
or when they set up one card and they're just like, I literally have nothing else, and you're like, well, march to move on and win the game. Yeah,
one character only, and that's all.
Yeah.
At regionals now, top 8 versus Jacob Holtman, the world champion Wolfgang. Insanely great player. I play Martel, first Snow deck. He finds a bad setup, mulligans. Find a 4-card setup, which is reasonable, right? But only first Snow targetable characters.
Play Forgotten
and
Lands.
The game is over.
What was this problem?
Printing first Snow this early seems, in hindsight, like not the best decision.
Yeah.
Well, also making Forgotten Plans only 4 gold. If it had been 5, like the problem is if you have a setup like what Jakob had in that situation, like if you open Forgotten Plans though and they don't first Snow you, you're significantly further behind. Like it's hard to you're in a devil's trap there, right?
I don't know. I mean,
there we go.
You're dropping 4 characters, and they're protected turn 1. I think you're in a good spot to recover and not get hit by that first Snow. But that means you have to play that plot. It means you have to play it to protect your flop. And I don't like those kind of corners that you're painted into. But I disagree on that because I've played a couple decks that have a really low curve, and I think you have to play Forgotten Plans in those super low curve decks because you can flop like 5 to 6 cards really consistently, but a first Snow screws you turn 1, so you have to almost.
Yeah, but the first Snow also at that point sort of screws you turn 2.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't play first Snow first turn. I played it the second or third turn, I think. But
like a good player won't they'll expect your Forgotten Plans and they'll wait a turn. And this is me getting owned by better players than me when I'm running Forgotten Plans, like Story from 1.0, right? So every time I think, oh, I'm clever, I'll hold off on Forgotten Plans, and then they first know you just like, with it. And you're just like, of course. And then the next game we play, I'm like, all right, this time, no, never mind.
One thing, Wolfgang, is Valor and the decks that should run Valor, the meta that we will see after Valor, will likely be less of a 2.0 metagame. I think decks will have an easier time recover if they're well built and have Valor.
See, to an extent, but I really, really think that dropping I don't know the name, but I'm gonna say 422. Someone save me.
Long
Famine?
Winter.
Yeah, I really feel like
Oh.
dropping the long
Oh,
winter to someone's valor is just like, shit, I'm in trouble.
I
Yeah.
mean, unless
Depends on what
they've
their hand
prepared for
is.
the Valor. If they're set up to save 1 or 2 guys from the Valor,
Yeah.
then
If
then
it's a,
that 2 claim's
if
not
it's a,
doing
if
much.
it's an offensive valor, sure.
Right.
I'm talking about your standard like defensive valor, your comeback
No,
valor.
but
I'm getting two. You're
Yeah, but
getting.
a comeback valor isn't a defensive valor, though, right? I mean,
I'm
that's
getting 2.0.
It's a Hail
valor.
Mary. You know.
I'm
And
getting 2.0 valor. Is it like if they
Mm.
just drop 422 to it, and you're just like, well, I
No,
can
I
play something
think
or get my hand annihilated with my 5 reserve, or
I think if you play the Arbor, or if you can, if you have the event, if you can stall for a while and have the gold event in Martell,
Yeah.
I think you're fine against the long winter. It
Or you
will be a
have-
rough, and you will have to play smart and have the right cards, but it's always an option. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't feel like, oh, I lost. He had a better setup than me.
Yeah.
You have
The
something to plan
economy
for.
becomes even more important in Valor.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's just, but you've got to have like the whole thing. What I'm trying to get at is you've got to have so much more stuff than they do.
Yeah.
Like
Or
because
you
because you have to have that card and then the right cards to play to hold them off. Meanwhile, they have to have like one economy card already and then the ability to play something good, and they can re-wipe your board.
We'll still see it as kind of a 2.0 situation. If you just see economy early and set up like 2 economy locations, maybe a King's Road, and they haven't seen locations yet, you just Valor and you move on from there, because they're gonna have a really hard time recovering, and you'll just hit the gas and put pressure on the rest of them.
It depends. Like if you valored into their I don't like noble and then they just drop 3 dudes.
Yeah,
Like
or
you're still
trading.
yeah, well,
Just
trading then you're
dumping
really
in
helping
his
them
hand.
as much. But
yeah, then you have a 5 gold valor.
It doesn't matter.
plus whatever.
But they have 10. I mean, they'll still be able
Yeah.
to get in the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think valor like this kind of problem really makes valor less useful to me.
I mean,
I agree.
it's clearly not like the save all, but I think Valor is going to reshape. I mean, an on-demand reset that kills every character is going to. Like right now, I think there's the tools that exist in the metagame to take advantage of a reset like Valor, but that reset doesn't exist.
You know what?
And-
You know what? Valor. You know when Valor is going to be amazing. Besides the Arbor, I guess, is when both players are running it. Like Valor gets stronger the more Valor there is. The less Valor there is. If only a few people are running Valor, the worse it is.
Maybe.
I guess.
Unless you're that one person at a tournament that's running Valor and nobody expects it, and then hey, Cat, and then you're like, oh, you're gonna get owned because you're gonna overextend or underextend, and I'll hit your hand or whatever. But I mean, now we're just fully on
Game theory.
game
Will Valor just cause everyone to play differently though? Everyone to
hope so.
marshal differently? Everyone to kind of be a little bit more conservative? I
Depends.
feel like you have to be, right?
Until deck archetypes become known.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's still be those like there's still be the cheeky person who's running. Let's just say like Lanny Kraken is an established archetype.
Yeah, Valor.
And they're not running Valor. Like let's just say that though. Like you spend the whole game like playing around their Valor, and they beat you, and they're like, "Oh, I never had Valor."
Yeah.
Right. Because they that at least to me was like an experience at 1.0 that I had where you would run into what you thought were established archetypes, and they generally were, but they were like 80% there, and then this deck builder had been like, "Oh, this is so expected, so I'm going to make these 20% changes that are going to surprise people."
You could put some Iron Mines out and just not use them and keep your opponent in fear of the Valor the whole game.
Yeah.
And just like kill Chudge, like, oh, we're gonna save those Iron Mines, and they're just like, oh my god, I just can't put this character out right now because I don't have a dupe. And it could work out, but again, it's even that's kind of a, I don't know. I like it, but I also don't like it.
I mean, we'll see.
Well, Wolfgang asks, doesn't this happen with naval superiority now? Yeah, I don't know exactly what that is.
Well, naval superiority just
Oh, the like fake play. The like, oh, he might have it, so I might need to hold off. And the March, he might have it, so I might need to.
March is
And,
much easier to play around.
I
yeah.
think that not enough players play naval. I think also that the winning play is to play many tournaments and usually not care about naval. Oh, I got hit by naval, but in 90% of the other cases, I will just make my best play every time. Bam, bam, bam. And I will place better. Which is sad, I think. Naval would have been much more fun if it was more in the meta. But people had
And
to
I think
think
it
about
can
a
be.
bit
I
more.
think that's a people
Yeah.
problem,
Yes.
not a naval problem. It's a great plot, and it remains a great plot, but
I don't
people
think
are
it's a people.
scared of it.
I think it's a problem that goes away, like as even an option in 2 to 5 months. When
Oh yeah,
when summer and winter.
I
Then
don't
it's
think
just
I
like,
think
fuck
it's
naval.
I think naval. I don't know if it's a people problem. I think it's a problem of it's just so inconsistent, right? Like, and
It's
it's a
No,
really. I think naval is an amazing
it's
plot in the
so
hands
hard
of
to play.
yeah.
yeah, like in
Yeah.
really good players. Like it is a great plot, but I think if we're just talking about the median Thrones player, I'm not talking about just like median Thrones player who has a good chance of making the cut. I don't think that like naval is going to end up being less efficient for them than any other plot.
It takes guts to naval.
Wolfgang says, to me though, the meta is now James needs to be play trading and big guys, to which naval is a semi counter to. But that is also why good players don't just play one high gold plot. Like,
Right.
yes, you will get an advantage from playing naval against my trading
First turn trading.
if which I tend not to open with anyway. But if I did, you'd get a very big advantage. You'd be pretty far ahead for that one turn, and then next turn I'm coming with noble because you can't naval
Or you're coming
calling.
with
or
calling
or
because they
they
spilled
just
out a
flood the
bunch of
board,
guys.
or I'm
Yeah.
coming with
You know,
wildfire and then I just play one guy and now we're even, right? Like, or first no because they play you get the idea.
Yeah.
Like the naval is a really good tempo play when it's a really good tempo play.
If they reprinted blockade, I think it would have been a lot stronger.
Yeah.
But they wanted to make traits matter, so that's what they decided
I don't
Blockade
like
was
naval
0-4-1.
only gets a few.
for everybody. But everyone got 0 gold
Yeah.
from their plots. Yourself, you got 0, and then your opponent.
Yeah.
It
would've
was
been
6
nice to see
initiative,
naval
though.
hit everything but
Was
like
it 6?
schemes like
Yeah.
Forgotten Plans.
Yeah, I mean, Forgotten Plans not hitting schemes is really annoying. Like,
Yeah.
Well, that's a little annoying. I don't think it's too bad right now.
I mean, I
It's not
get
too
it.
bad, but-
They don't want it to hit all of them, and they want it to be an interesting play. Like, should I play naval? Will it hit? Will it not? And my opponent will have to think about, should I play this one that doesn't get hit? Blah blah blah. But it doesn't work because there are too many plots that it doesn't hit, especially soon when everyone will playing summer and winter, which for some reason there is not a kingdom or whatever kingdom
Ranger's
and
Cache.
Edict.
edict on any of
Ranger's
the
Cache.
summer or winter stuff.
Ranger's Cache is a winter plot that has kingdom.
Okay,
I thought my
fine, but
Ranger's Cache, yeah.
seriously.
I think naval superiority made sense in a only core set meta, where sort of the key game turning plots were all kingdoms, or edicts.
Or edicts. Some of them were edicts.
Right. Some are edicts, right? But Buzz is right. Like as the card pool expands, they're going to print different traits, plots with blah 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 blah.
So
I really completely honest though, and so thus naval becomes a worse plot. But my point about Forgotten Plans is I really think that they made it so it doesn't hit schemes, so to make the wording better, to make the wording like less all plots but also named Forgotten Plan. What was the 1.0 wording? Like I feel like that's why they did it that way.
I think maybe they wanted to have some plots just kind of exist through it, which I like. Forgotten Plans is kind of a schemer plot, so if you're playing in another like really schemy plot, it kind of gets through.
yeah, but
I like that.
your
There's
scheme
some
are
flavor.
your scheme are your plans. Those are what you're forgetting.
But
But
Forgotten
good
Plans
schemer
would have
never
blanked it
forgets.
anyway.
A good schemer never forgets their plans. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the stats are the bigger problem. I think the biggest problem with the game is I think a 0 to 7 or 8 gold curve is wrong. I think the game really wanted like a 0 to 5 gold curve with most of the same stuff. I feel like that solves almost every problem we're having with the game.
Do you mean on plots?
On cards. Like I think if the gold curve was 0 to 5 instead of 0 to 7, we'd have a better game.
I don't know.
Maybe,
Time
but
will tell.
they wanted big time dudes.
I
They
get
wanted
it.
big flashy characters that costs. I mean, 8 or 9 maybe in the future, etc.
Yeah. No, I know what they did and I know why they did it. I'm starting to feel, and I'm sort of asking if you guys agree or disagree or where you land on this, but I think that we have a better game if we have like a real 0 to 5 curve.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's more like 1.0. I love 1.0, so maybe. But it's so hard to just
And
say
I like
yes.
the big characters. I don't like trading. My biggest problem with the big characters is trading. That you just drop it and drop. Like if you have trading in a King's Road, it's done. You're just dropping bomb after bomb, and it's just a little bit too much. I like the game before trading better than after trading.
Yeah, yeah. I just, yeah, okay, fair enough. I had another thought, but it wandered away. Um, so yeah, the Justin Shearer argument. Justin Shearer was the best Australian player in 1.0. I don't think anyone's really gonna argue that he was the best. Like he won fucking everything all the time.
I don't know.
But he basically stopped playing 2.0. His argument was 1.0 wasn't a broken game
Excuse me.
in that like anything about the way the game worked didn't work. It was a broken game in that they had a bunch of bad rules interactions and the card pool got too big. And changing the game so much, but when you rebooted it, when it wasn't broken to begin with, was fixing something that already worked. So
in other words, it needed a reboot to the card pool, but not a fundamental change to the way the game is played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I really think we're going to see reserve as a problem relatively soon.
Really?
Yeah, I think it makes it hard with Valor environment or not to keep cards in hand, because when you have like in first edition when you knew you were playing a deck to like survive Valor, you'd try and have enough cards in hand to make sure, right? Like you wouldn't only have 4 or 5 cards in hand. Not in like in 2.0, you have no don't step on the computer. You have no choice but to have only 4 or 5 cards in hand. There's now a cat's ass directly in my face.
And we
That's the
will
way it
see
works,
choke
man.
decks that reduce your reserve to 0. It will come.
Right. Yeah, almost certainly. That's going to be obnoxious. But like shit like that's just problematic. Like it makes resets way too strong and it makes intrigue so gambly in a way. Like it should make intrigue more powerful, but instead it makes it less because if you have the good cards, you tend to just play it.
Yeah. I mean, we might be, and I don't know, we might be kind of freaking out before we see the end result here.
Okay, Kitty, you gotta.
I mean, I think we need to see the existence of some choke decks. I mean, I think we need to see the existence of these different type of archetypes because right now the game's a little bit stale. So I mean, I welcome choke decks, and choke decks never really dominated things in the past, and I don't think I really don't think the reserve cap makes those decks kind of insane or incredible. We had the old winter agenda that knocked you down to 4 cards every time, and we still saw decks kind of work it out.
That wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But
Well,
4
I mean,
and
do we know the
0 are
reserve is
different
gonna get hit
numbers.
that much? Yeah, but come on, 0 reserve. No one's getting hit with 0
Yeah,
reserve.
we can already
within
hit
the
you-
next cycle,
we can already hit you with
we
2
will.
or 3.
Yeah, we will see a 0 from a 5 reserve.
That's why everyone's just gonna play Night's Watch, guys.
I mean, if you add wraiths, if someone plays Valor and you add wraiths to Alanis right now, you've got them down to 2 cards.
Yeah.
I mean, watch Night's Watch choke with Valor. Will dominate the meta one day.
That
I mean,
wouldn't
like, it
I
could
think
happen.
that's a good deck.
You're looking
I
at the cards, and it could happen.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Rookeries for the win.
But that kind of
Rookeries
silly
do
shit.
become a better card with Valor, though. Like
I mean, the Iron Throne becomes a way better card with Valor, right?
the wall becomes better. Like an ability to claim power that's not necessarily based on characters and doesn't store power on characters becomes better.
And they have Master Aemon to save from Valor. I mean, there's good stuff in Night's Watch that's kind of ready to go. It's good. It's going to be a good shakeup. Don't
I'm
doom and
also
gloom
on.
it yet.
I'm definitely on Sid's side here. Like I think Valor will shake the metagame up in a really positive way. I mean, look, let's be completely honest here. What we are in right now is a card drought. And what happens when there's a card drought is we all turn on each other and we come to hate the meta and we turn on the game and because what new cards do, even if new cards don't shake the meta up that much, they create the illusion of change. And at the end of the day, that's what you need with with this kind of community. Is you need at the very least this illusion of change, that there is an influx of new cards, even if the best decks are only maybe swapping out 2 cards to add 2 new cards in. It's still, people get excited about new cards. They want to try them out even if they're not the best. Like, it just creates a level of dynamism that is really great. But I think the problem that FFG is suffering from right now, at least in the competitive level, is that their content drought overlapped with the most important competitive season of the year. Right? Europeans
and
are
the
moving in,
shittiest card pool we've had so far.
right, the shittiest card pool that we've had so far, because like big guy decks are very dominant. I mean, it's very weird. I was just thinking about this today, that like I felt like the card pool was in a better place 2 chapter packs ago than it was now, which is weird, but whatever. But my point is more like this: there's a stall in new content right when the most competitive players, at least 3 of whom are on this podcast, are beginning to gear up for the most important time of the year.
Just one.
You should read the chat.
They're loving you. Keep going. Keep going, Roy.
I believe Ryan
at the most competitive time of the year, right?
This is your Gettysburg Address, Roy. Keep it
Ryan
going.
I'm
is
getting ready for
jerking
Gen
off to
Con,
you
right?
now.
I'm constantly getting ready for Gen Con. Aaron's getting ready for Gen Con. Buzz, you're getting ready for Nordic Nationals, right? You're like, people are thinking about Worlds. Like, it's really the time in which the competitive season is British Nationals, French, like all the national seasons is June through from national season in the early to late midsummer to Stolic, right? That is, for the highly competitive players in the world, that's the most important time of the season. That's when the knives come out.
You can stop.
That's
Ryan came.
Okay, Ryan came. That's when people, like, the most competitive players, care, right? And that's when FFG has not produced cards. Like, I could see this coming. It was something Dan and I talked actually about way back in like March, which is that when we were initially making our Gen Con plans, he's like, well, don't talk too much about the Gen Con meta because it's months away. And we're now in this situation with it where it feels stalled because there's new content. And it's really sad that FFG wasn't able to drop the Lannister box on us right before Gen Con. Hopefully Worlds will be better, because I'll be super conservative. There'll be 2 packs between now and then, or 3 packs. But that's what, 90 more cards? So
That would be 3 packs in
And we should
7
have the Lanny
months.
box. I mean, we should have the Lanny box at Worlds for sure, because they said third quarter, and unless they completely bail on third quarter, then we won't have it, and that will suck a lot. But I agree with Roy in principle. We just need more cards, right? More cards, more cards, more cards, and things get better. Things will always get better with more cards.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, but I hope so.
Well, I mean, but let's be clear here, though. Like, let's remember, like, the mountain. Like, to be completely honest, I'm like very Pollyannish. Like, when I'm not somewhat drunk and trying to be somewhat positive about the game. But like, we were all wrong about the mountain. Like, many of us were like, oh, the mountain will be easy to control. He doesn't matter. Like, cards in the abstract are one thing, but when you have a huge community of people that put the cards into action, we don't know what's going to happen. And that's kind of exciting. Same with Valor. Like, I have very strong Valor opinions, both from here and on the White Book episode. But who the fuck knows what's going to happen when it's out in the wild? It could end up being, a drop in the bucket. No one gives a shit. It just, like, Forgotten Plans gets put in most people's binders. But it could utterly revolutionize the meta. Who knows? Like at the end of the day, complete uncertainty with a card game, particularly because the community's getting so big. Like, it's interesting. So
New decks will be created with Valor and new cards. I mean, that's always going to be the case. And so we need for Snow, we need Valor, we need these kind of big bombs, we need winter and summer agendas. It's going to be a new world, but it's just taking too long. Need more cards now.
Yeah.
Like, reset decks will be real. someone who runs Valor and Two Marched and Varus and just says, God, right in your face.
You mean
With
Ryan?
all your characters and all your marshaling. I don't care. I'll destroy it all every turn. And I'm looking forward to like discovering that. But right now, like this meta pretty much is Gen Con meta, right? Is Gen Con getting anything?
Maybe one.
Maybe one pack?
Yeah.
Maybe one pack? Ugh, it's such a rough time. It's hard right now. The only thing we have is the Octagon League, which is fun, but even that just feels very much like
Killing time.
yeah, because you're playing the same decks you'd expect to play. I haven't played anything surprising yet. I hope to. I want to. It's not happening.
It's not gonna. I mean, this is like the sad joke is, and this is something I found out pretty quickly was, people don't bring their best decks until this season. Like, particularly like the highest level players who want a big.
I don't think that's true anymore.
You don't think that's true
Yeah.
anymore?
I think the best
think
decks are
so.
more or less discovered in the current meta.
Okay. I don't know. There's still. Hi, Rue. You're in the background there. I don't know.
Right.
There's just a part of me that,
Roy's masturbating to his own face too.
of course, that's all I ever do.
I think we saw a lot of people building interesting, powerful decks, even in Store Championship season, and in regional season. And I mean, people want to win. People want to win. They're not going to bring a subpar deck to a tournament that they want to win. They might not share it with the world, but I think they'll play the best thing they can for the meta that exists.
Okay. I don't know. There's just a part of me that the hopeful part of me that just thinks that like Gen Con, Worlds, these national tournaments, people are going to show up with new shit that they've been
The
sitting
second
on.
coming of the Thrones deck will emerge and just make
Yeah.
us go.
I would be
I don't hold out much hope for that.
I would be so excited if someone showed up at Gen Con with a deck that I haven't thought of at all. That would be just amazing.
I have
I hope it
fingers in a few cookie jars in SoCal, in in Roy and no, not Roy, Aaron and John's decks, and I have insight into the French decks and the Swedish decks and etc. I get intel from a lot of places, and I don't see any new decks coming.
No, there's nothing.
There's
we-
nothing.
It's Stark Felty,
alright.
it's Big Dudes, and it's Martel Lion. I mean,
So John and I every night we sit down with these three big decks and we build like everything we can find to like everything, the craziest ideas in the world, and we're just like maybe this will be one, at least two of these three. Nope. Maybe this one will. Nope. How about like literally this has been every night for the past 3 months ish. Like if that deck exists,
you demand. If you can find it.
yeah. Like
You
I'm
demand.
hoping, I really hope someone can find it because like John, like look, even if you don't think I'm that great, John's really fucking good. Like we can't come up with shit that beats those decks.
Like, and it's not even hard when someone comes up with like an interesting counter. It's not even hard to build in extra little counters into the Big Dude's deck. Like it's not hard to throw in some rattle shirts and a confiscation into Big Dudes and just deal with Martel. Like it's not that hard because you're also playing treacheries and probably nightmares, and so you just roll over it. It's a frustrating time for me right now. I want new decks, more cards.
We'll see.
Do you think an FAQ would solve things? A restricted list.
Yes, I think if you restrict like 2 major cards from each house, you have a real game with real
Every
choices.
house.
Not every house. Okay, I
Like
don't
one,
think you need that.
one
That's a
month
lot.
before Worlds, we get a restricted list to shake things up. Do you
Yeah, you
think that works?
It depends what you restrict. If you restrict Tywin and Tyrion, no. Right? Like, because that's what everyone always says whenever I've had this conversation with every schmuck that exists, including you, Buzz. It's like, just Tywin and Tyrion, and then, like, Lannister won't be, and, like, that's great. Then just Stark owns everything, and we move
Yeah.
on with life. Like,
Well, restricting Fast Eddie is also
right,
pretty-
no, you'd have to
With
restrict.
what else though?
You restrict Fast Eddie,
Rob.
Fast Eddie and Rob, or Fast Eddie and Winterfell until the winter shit comes out. You restrict Tywin and Tyrion probably, or Tywin and Gregor, or Tyrion and Gregor. Who cares? Pick 2 of those 3. You restrict Balon and Iron Mines. You restrict Where am I?
Balon and Iron Mines? I don't know
How
if
about
Greyjoy
Balon and
hit it.
Seastone Chair?
Sure, Balon, and pick 2 cards from Greyjoy that are.
What are you trying to just nerf Greyjoy into oblivion? Like,
No,
I don't
I'm trying
understand.
to.
Like,
No, I'm
They
trying to
got
say
Iron
that.
Mines and they'll have
You know what?
Valor. That'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
whoa. We're not talking about the Valor meta. We're talking about like right now.
Whatever, right now. So for a month or 2, they'll be as shitty as they are right now because they're not good. You nerf. I'd say I'd say Miri and Danny.
Miri and everything. Just ban Miri.
Yeah, no. Miri goes away from other houses if like Tywin's also restricted, right? So like that solves that, and then you restrict Danny so that it's not just like, well, I'm just gonna run all that shit out of Targ. Then you restrict, I don't know, Gaston and Nymeria, and Bob and Mel, or Bob and Iron Throne. I don't really care. Something along those, not Iron Throne, Red Keep, something along those lines. And then you should be fine. Like, because then who the fuck knows what's best? Is there a really good Barra deck with like Bob or Mel? Which do you use? What do you want to banner to? And like every combination is fresh. And then you're like one of those banner cards that you really want is restricted. Do you still banner to that house? How do you banner that house? What do you want to banner for? What can't you banner for? And like everything is brand new. Nothing you know about the game is still true if you restrict that much stuff.
I feel like you're just. Is this just from our own frustration that the options seem so limited? I mean, do you really want to create a restricted list just to like speed up what would naturally happen when we have a card pool?
No, because that's not what's happening. What's happening and what's killing me and the big problem between what I'm having, what you and Ryan are saying, is that I think everything about this game is and will be from everything we know, unless something about their design principles changes, good stuff decks.
Yeah.
And I don't want just good stuff decks. Good stuff decks, no matter what the good stuff is, aren't that hard to fucking solve. They're just not. We could solve them in 1.0, we can solve them in 2.0. We can say, this is the good stuff that should go in a deck and build that. With 120 more cards, yes, we can solve it, Ryan, because we did in 1.0 a million times. Good stuff decks don't change 15 cards when a new chapter pack comes out.
Right.
They change 1 or 2 here and there, and then occasionally a new archetype comes out, and then people beat that to death. But like the new archetypes aren't every chapter pack, they're once or twice per cycle, so there's plenty of time to figure them out. When everything is good stuff, things get stale. You need there to be Targ Hollow Hill, which was a weird thing, right? Like, which had art to it, which had preferences to it. You need like your various control decks, your various rush decks, the kind of things that don't exist in this. Like, everything's just the best 60 to 61 cards I can find.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is multifold. Like, I guess I'm on Ryan's side here in the sense that I do think a temporary list is necessary. I think a temporary list is necessary when there's a content gap. I think, and this is an FFG problem. This is when Nate and Danny's bosses say, hey, no packs are coming out for X number of months. We're not quite sure when the next content's going to drop. They need to step in for the competitive players and say, okay, we're not going to get new cards for a certain period of time, and we're going to restrict cards to shake up the metagame until we can get new cards. And when the new cards come, we can lift the restricted list and see what's going to happen, right? I mean, this is the beauty of the internet, right? Is that they can just issue an FAQ whenever they want, like particularly a restricted list, like a real FAQ that is about frequently asked questions and tries to be rules intricate. That takes time, and I can understand why they try to say split that over 3 or 4 times a year. But a restricted list, they can just issue whenever they want at the end of the day, and particularly when it's like not the regional season, when it is these like highly competitive or not even regionals, store championship season, which anyone can show up to, like the regional and nationals and continental season. That's when you get the most hardcore players coming out, the people who will most be likely to look up a restricted list. I think that's when if there's a content gap, you can use the restricted list to good effect. I have no problem with them restricting a bunch of cards before Gen Con or restricting a bunch of cards before Worlds, and then we get a glut of new cards in December. Just saying, no restricted list. Like, let's get rid of it and see what the meta is.
Temporary premier event season restricted list.
Yeah, because we're sick. Like Nate agrees that we're sick of. Like, Nate's sick of this meta. He's heard from top players that they're sick of this meta because, I mean, what's the point? Like, let's be brutally honest here, right? For FFG, the competitive community that we exist is partially a promotional effort, right? the fact that we love this game so much is supposed to help drive sales and drive promotion and have people in game stores have a public presence and say, oh my god, these excellent players play this game. And when you have when you have the situation that we're in right now, where competitive players turn on the game because it feels stale, because it feel like it ends up being a bad thing for them, it ends up undermining why they put so much effort, or as we might argue, lack of effort, or at least they put some effort into a competitive scene, right? Instead of just issuing this like a board game, right, where they just put cards out there and let people do whatever the fuck they want. But the fact that they're trying to create this competitive culture, it's something they have to nurture and something they have to really maintain. At least that's what you learn if you follow other competitive card games, not just Magic, but Hearthstone and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and L5R and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
think
agree.
in wait,
that
in
means
the
they have to step in. And they
yeah,
have to do something
in the entire
drastic.
so in the year that this game has existed, and we're about to be a year, right? There's been one deck that wasn't good stuff that seemed competitive.
Which deck was
Even
that? The Night's Watch?
no,
Kraken?
no. Oh yeah, I guess two. Okay, Night's Watch Kraken or Night's Watch Lion, Night's
Land.
Watch whatever, and Sid's Jumper, right? And Sid's Jumper was still like
Wait,
80%.
That had some pretty good stuff.
And it was still
I
like
don't know if that's not
and,
landing good
and
stuff.
it
That's
was
just
still
landing
I'm
stuff.
flattered you say that.
and it was
but
still like
had,
80% good stuff. That's
it was
what
like
I'm
the
trying
best
to say.
cards available at the time. Like pretty much.
Like, no offense to Sid, like, because that's a brilliant, like, he
But-
he
Oh,
broke
it's a
those
good
cards.
guys deck.
It's
And it's a way to efficiently get good guys out a lot, and that's all it is. I mean, it's not some like amazing like low cost efficient characters.
Yeah.
It's just like let me just get big guys in for cheap and dominate the challenge phase every challenge phase.
What about
Um,
all the Martell decks, Aaron?
I mean,
They're not good
they're
stuff.
still they're absolutely
They're
good
not.
stuff. It's just the Martell good stuff isn't the expensive
Right.
stuff.
it's just
Not
not
very
a,
Like it's still all the best Martell cards. It's just none of them happen to be in the 7 cost range.
No, I don't buy that. No.
No, I agree with Buzz. It's playing a different kind of game.
Yeah.
It's good
yeah.
guy deck isn't just about the cost of the characters. It's about characters that are like meant to push through really impactful challenges.
My complaint isn't big guy decks. My complaint is good stuff decks, and I think it's still a good stuff deck.
I mean,
I
good
mean,
guy
Martell.
decks are a clear thing, but good stuff decks, we're in like some weird nebulous area. I mean, everyone wants to play a deck with good stuff.
No,
Good
all
stuff.
right. You played
What are you
1.0.
talking
How
about?
do you not like good stuff decks? Were like your standard
ultra
DC deck, where it
efficient.
was just like the ultra efficient. Whatever's most efficient from
Right.
that is what you're doing. Not like you're not trying to do anything, but like I'm going to do this very
But
straightforward thing.
I'm
Yeah,
fine.
but-
Good stuff decks are good. They're a good thing to have.
Yeah, but but they should not be everything we have.
I still think that
Alright.
Martell has too many choices and too many good stuff cards. That there are so much choices in your deck building. I have 4 or 5 completely different Martell Lions.
Yeah,
They
me
play
too.
differently. They have completely different cards. So
I
I don't buy that Martell,
Alright,
especially
I've-
Martell Lion, is a good stuff deck.
I've got 2 SoCal Martell Lions, your Martell Lion, the Dutch Martell Lion, 3/4 of the DC Martell Lion. Like there are 2 real versions. There's one version that's less good stuffy than the other. Like the one that won a few American regionals. M&M Broncos deck was just good stuff. The one you won with was definitely different. I don't know how different, but it was more. It wasn't doing the same thing as the other deck, but it was.
Anyway, I just think there are a few not good stuff that runs cards that aren't specifically very good all the time, and just stick it into the deck. But that's the meta we have. The meta is mostly or only, I take all the best cards, put it in the deck, and anyone can build it.
So
Done.
if you
Great.
restrict a bunch of cards, you can't do that anymore.
Yes, I agree.
So we should we don't have a choice. Like I hope that FFG realizes that and therefore restricts a bunch of cards so that we have to like learn to do things differently, because that's how we will learn when we can't just go like Chariot and Tywin and this and that, and when we have to go like hey, if I'm gonna build this deck, which fits better, Tyrion or Tywin? And then do I have to change the banner based on that choice? And then which banner goes like, and it just like doubles and triples all options. And then like, oh shit, I was gonna banner to the Kraken, but I don't want to because I don't have Iron Mind. So like, what else can I do? That's interesting deck building.
I agree. I think if we had a temporary restricted list, that would be interesting. But I would like to see them really make it temporary and be Johnny on the spot with like taking away those choices as we got more cards.
I mean, I'm more of a go back. Like I'm more of a no or limited. Like if they're truly broken combos, they should obviously be restricted. But you know, I'm up for a during the store championship season a smaller restricted list or no restricted list, and then as we move up in tiers, a higher restricted list as a response to the metagame, as a sort of break on the metagame. I mean, but at the end of the day, though, we do run into a situation of it does come down to taste, though, right? I mean, the four
No.
of us have specific tastes, and then Nate and Danny have their own specific tastes. Like, I mean, there are broader problems.
Wait,
that,
beyond
like, but do you not remember the 1.0
Wait.
restricted list was in many ways
amazing.
it was amazing, but also there were things that were on that list because Nate did not and Damon when he was a designer did not like certain types of decks. Like we can all agree with that, right? Why was Art of
Rush
Seduction
got
on there?
nerfed.
Right? Like they
Every
didn't,
time Rush Rose.
and then all we ever
Every
did was
time.
complain. Like I listened to enough Beyond the Wall and enough it was 2C 1C episodes at that point up to like look, people didn't like Art of Seduction being on there because they liked playing Rush decks. I mean, now we're deep into the 1.0 weeds.
So
but let's
sure.
bring back
but
to 2.0.
okay, what's the argument beyond the generic it's too soon for having a restricted list in 2.0? What's the argument against?
What
Beyond
if some people like playing like what I mean there is this thing like what if enough of the community like likes good stuff decks, like thinks that good stuff decks are
I mean,
a fine baseline for what a good deck is in Thrones.
sure, but we've spoken to a lot of the community. Like I doubt you'll find 4 people that have spoken to more of the community. Not the case. Like 2 or 3 people
That's me
literally
playing devil's advocate, by the way. Though.
Yeah, I know, but 2 or 3 people a day. Legitimately, 2 or 3 people a day. Like I'm not exaggerating. Message me to go, man, this game has some serious problems. Like I feel like there's nothing to do. There's nothing to make. So yes, maybe the meta will shift on its own, Ryan. That is one argument. However, it has been 3 months with the same meta and it hasn't shifted. So like maybe the meta will shift on its own, maybe it won't. If we get a pack or two, we can unrestrict shit. It's really easy to put out another document, right? Like literally, it's pressing delete on some shit and pressing send,
Right.
and then updating everything to like 0.2 instead of 0.1, which they're really bad at. But like
Also,
that's all the difference.
You might be completely honest. Another way to make the meta shift quicker is if there's more events. Like one of the things that does cause even minor meta shifts, or even that leads to a organically solved meta, which I think is what happened in the regional season, is if you have a good number of events in succession, right? And I think if FFG sponsored more events, not just like in the way in which they sponsor Store Championship, in the way they sponsor regionals. Like for example, if the Store Championship season never really let up, that there was game night kits are kind of like that, but they're also not because they're very at the whim of whatever the local organizer is and at the store. Like, is the store willing to shell out the money? Like, if there was more events that were sponsored by FFG that were part of their competitive season that continued, like if there was a Friday Night Thrones kind of thing, I think we would see the meta shift more organically in a way in which Ryan in chat may like, and which all of us might be more comfortable with, which is because there's this constant ebb and flow of every week or every other week, most Thrones communities can have a high level competitive event. We might see the meta shift more.
I mean,
on its
Friday
own.
Night Thrones. You just got me hard right there. I mean, Friday Night Thrones. That's the end game. I mean, that is the dream. If people are like, "Hey, there's no Friday Night Thrones at this store. What's wrong with you guys?" That would be the most amazing thing in the world. But we're just not there, right? We don't have that kind of game. I wish we did. Oh my gosh, I wish we did. But maybe someone would play in my county. But until we're there, we're always gonna have these lulls, right? These big ebbs where we're all kind of sitting around going, "God, I wish there was more Thrones to play." and it sucks. I mean, I don't. Their tournament schedule going forward doesn't seem to really fix it. We're still going to have a big lull. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and this is something as someone who organizes the New York meetups and New York tournaments, like it's exhausting. It comes down on not on someone who is paid money or can make money off doing Thrones events. Like stores can make money off doing Magic events. Like it oftentimes comes down to people who are willing to sacrifice time and money to run events, which can just lead to burnout. And then communities often fall apart because one or two key organizers are burned out, or they have children, or they have work
Stromes.
difficulties.
Right,
Yeah.
but if FFG had an infrastructure in place to kind of allow anyone to step in there and just, facilitate what FFG was supplying to stores, then we wouldn't have these problems. But you're right, metas rise and fall really, really dramatically. At least they did in 1.0, and in 2.0, I don't know. I'm the metalist man. Is that the experience from anybody else that you've seen metas kind of rise and fall in 2.0, or is it too early to kind of make that call?
Metas have definitely risen. We don't know if any have fallen, but like, there's definitely groups playing that didn't exist before. So
Agreed.
I mean, bully for them and all. I don't. I mean,
But if FFG doesn't do something to kind of prop those metas up, do we see a lot of them falling as they're like, geez, you know what? Like going to Worlds isn't an option for us. We just have like 6 months where nothing really is happening. Forget it.
yeah, that's exactly what happens. Plus, then L5R comes out, and that'll poach a bunch of players. Like
Right.
shit.
We are a ship in the storm for a lot of L5R players, at least in Northeast. I don't know if that's a big thing out west or in Europe, but
From what I gather, it is. I don't know about
L5R.
Europe, but from what I gather, it is a big thing out west. There's just a bunch of L5R that don't have anything to play right now or are playing this, and if we could hook them, that'd be great. But instead, we're just like, let's not have cards for 5 months, and let's have like 2 tournaments, and let's stick one on a Wednesday, and let's cancel this whole format without warning anybody. And yeah, like, I legitimately, when I realized where this game was heading, went and looked for another competitive game to play because I feel like FFG doesn't take this seriously as a competitive game. And I found nothing that was exactly to my taste, and I'm already a part of the community, and I love everyone, so I'm still here for now. But like, it's less and less like acceptable every time they do something like this, and sooner or later they're going to make one of these Wednesday Worlds decisions, or one of these like, or once they're going to go like 8 months without cards because they've done it with all of their other games.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be like, bye. And if I'm nuts about this, I do fucking 2 podcasts, 800 articles, and everything else. If I'm quitting, what are you going to do if you're a casual player?
Quit. Just stop. You'll just fade away. I mean, I think you said it. Like these Wednesday Worlds decisions. The one doesn't kill a game, but when you make them over and over, like Origins was a complete debacle. And it's not because of the people who showed up. I don't want to take anything away from the people who did well in that tournament, but FFG, it wasn't on their website. It wasn't promoted. It wasn't marketed. They didn't support the tournament with cool prizes. They didn't hype it at all. And it was the weekend after regionals ended in North America. It was a joke. Like their organization around U.S. Nationals was a joke, and now Worlds for Thrones is a joke. And it's frustrating. Like as a Thrones player, this is my only real game. I'm not looking for another game, but I'm interested because it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't
I
play
mean-
anything else. I don't know
I
anybody
mean,
else.
look,
so this is
the Dutch meta, who were super into Thrones, are already playing other games. Hi, but the
needs
Dutch,
the comfort of his
She's going to-
offspring.
I
but
did.
the
She
Dutch,
sensed my frustration.
but like the Dutch are already into other games.
What are
Like,
they playing?
Ashes,
I don't even know what that is.
Rise of the Phoenix Born.
Ugh.
Like,
Ashes, really?
I don't know. I haven't played it. I've heard it's amazing. Fucking all of a sudden, the stupid that Marvel game that Upper Deck put out is getting regular releases.
Oh, Versus? They decided to actually release
Yeah,
cards
like
for
lots of
that?
shit's
Oh.
getting released. They're on their. They just announced like their 4th boxes coming around Gen Con. 4 boxes worth of content in the same time since Thrones is launched.
Okay. Well, I think we've basically been one of those negative trains of negativity for a while now. So I think it's probably at the point where we need to wrap up. So does anyone have any sort of final thoughts on all of the themes that we've been talking about? Because I have sort of like one more thing I want to say, but I want to throw it out to um, you guys for sort of final thoughts.
Did we cover the Facebook questions? 'Cause I think we just blew those off.
We sort of did, but we also kind of covered some of their stuff. There's a couple things. Trey, I know you have a question that we really didn't get to the spirit of, but I do promise you in our next episode that we will get to sort of this question of like what skill is. But look, we're already at an hour and 48 minutes on the Skype call, so which is like 12 minutes longer than.
That's going to be less than 2 hours.
That's true. This is the goal. This is progress. For what's always remember. It's like 5:30 a.m. for Buzz. So
Buzz doesn't. Wait. Have you ever messaged Buzz at this time when he's not podcasting? Because he still fucking replies. He's like, he's never
24/7. Buzz has never like taken more than 10 seconds to reply to any kind of message.
Look, I'm a very, very connected to online. Yeah.
Always. Right, well, we do love you, Buzz. So, but does anyone have any final thoughts here before we
I'll say something quick. We've kind of said it all, but FFG, if you're listening, if you're out there, just like pay attention to the community and it's just really frustrations with organized play, because it feels like you're dropping the ball and you need to pick it up and figure out how to make really the best game you've ever designed be good, because it doesn't feel that good right now what they're doing with the game. And I don't know if it's the personnel or if it's the plan or it's the implementation of the plan or if it's just a lack of product, but I don't think it's just a lack of product. Like what they've done with the last 2 big tournaments is frustrating. And it's just like, man, get some people up there who are going to right the ship and like make good by the community. Because if you do that, you're going to have a great game that lasts another decade. Like they say they want in all their articles, and yet they don't follow through.
So yeah, you keep killing games. Like you've almost killed Star Wars. You've almost killed Conquest. Netrunner, from recent reports, is on the downswing. Like, and that has a ridiculously huge base, right? We need. Please don't do the same thing to Thrones. And like, all I'm doing is I'm sitting here going, well, these are all the mistakes everyone complained about for all these other games, and said that's why they stopped playing. So, I mean, it's your money, it's your product. Like, do you want us to play it and take it seriously? Because if so, we're telling you what we need. You don't have to guess.
And they're like, I feel like I'm getting duped right now. Like I started playing Netrunner and then stopped. I started playing Star Wars when it came out and stopped. And I've got people saying, "Hey, but L5R." I was like, "Dude, it's FFG." I've got this
I have strong
string of abusive girlfriends.
L5R feelings.
And they hurt me. It's done. I'm done with the FFG unless they have to show that they can fix this thing. Because I mean, I don't want to sound too doom and gloom. I guess I've been drinking, so I probably am just like
it's a doom and gloom kind of episode.
I guess it is, but they have to take drastic steps right now to correct it, or else the doom will continue, and people will just stop playing the game. I mean, that's what'll happen. People just stop playing.
All right. So, sort of my final thoughts before I begin this sort of wrap up of the show is this. I think, and this is something that actually comes from a sense of 1.0, but Stalik's the clearest example of this, which is FFG wants to have its cake and eat it too when it comes to their own organized play.
No, I just want cake. I don't need to eat it. Just give me cake.
Yes, just
give me something.
Thank you so much for interrupting me. But which is that they want strong community involvement, but they also want to be in control. But the way in which FFG does things right now is they have a lot of kind of control and some community involvement, but it makes no one happy. Like clearly FFG is not happy with the direction that their OP is really going. They're constantly trying to make changes, some for the better, some for the worse, and they're adjusting it. But they're also not happy with the community and what it's doing and how the community wants to be part of an integrated part of its organized plan play, and it hasn't come up with a way of which to do what it wants to do. Like it can either be a community run event where organized play is run by the community and run either well or run poorly, or it can be FFG tells us what to do. and does these things. It
Yeah.
can't do this liminal situation that we're in right now. I think that's the fundamental problem.
No,
where
because
the
like they're
best tournaments at Thrones, except for Worlds and Gen Con, are not run by FFG.
no. The problem is that they just fuck up worlds. Like
And then
if they're barely doing anything, but the barely shit they're doing wrong. Like it's not like they're just like they're not doing enough, but they're doing what they're doing well. It's like they're like, well, you guys take like 80% of this, but what we do, we're just gonna fuck up. And like when you guys really start to get things rolling on your own with your 60-player like tournaments that you're building on your own, well, we're gonna stop putting out product and not support you in any way, shape, or form. So like what little they're doing poorly. It's not even that like they expect too much of us. It's that they're not doing like beyond the game itself, which I have arguments with, obviously. What positive do they have?
well, that's a question we will leave.
Great IP.
Great IP, but that's a
Great
question
IP.
we will leave really for you, the listeners, and for Fantasy Flight Games themselves, which I'm sure we're going to be getting official FFG spoilers very soon after this episode.
Never. Never. That's
And
fine though.
I'm sure all of us will, future FMG employees all here. But again, I think it's probably time that we wrap this episode up instead of me debating with Aaron and fighting with him for another fucking 45 minutes. But again, I want to thank everyone for watching us or listening to us. If you like the new intro for the podcast episode, please feel free to leave a comment on the Facebook page or message me, Roy Richard Rogers, which is my Facebook handle, or
The Richard's not in there.
Is it not for my
No.
Facebook thing? No, it's not. Whatever. I thought it was.
It's Roy Rogers. It's a picture of your head. I'm pretty sure it should be easy to find.
A faux intel literally everywhere else. So message me and let me know. Because then if you all like it, that's awesome. Because Beck is awesome. If you don't like it, we'll find something else. So
I
yeah.
don't care what people like. All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Buzz never cuts the stream when he's supposed to.